All right, and I'll go ahead and welcome everyone to our event today. This is the 100 Greatest Cartoon Characters in Television History. My name is Krista Danis. I'm the Events and Program Coordinator at the Aurora Public Library in Aurora. So this event is part of our week-long Cape Con virtual and in-person experience. It's a celebration of comics, graphic novels, and pop culture for all ages. I'm excited to have this program with Marty here and honored to introduce him this afternoon. But before we get started, I know that there's no one yet on Zoom. I suspect there will be some soon. So I want to mention a bit of housekeeping items for the event today. It is hybrid, so we have people in person and we should be having some people in Zoom. And there's also some people watching on Facebook. So we're going to try to gather all questions and comments, and I can help facilitate those things too. It'll be an interactive experience. So, and it sounds like Marty can hear the people in the room when they speak, right?
That's right. Yeah. If you, I will be doing some trivia questions. So you just shout out the answers. We have a kind of a small group, so that'll be okay. We don't need to use chat or anything unless we have some people come in there on Zoom.
Sure. Great. Okay. So we'll try to keep up with those. And then also, if people do come on Zoom, there is some closed captioning available. If they're interested, they can turn that on and off using the live transcript button at the bottom of the screen. So Marty Gitlin is a veteran sports writer and pop culture historian. He's also an author, speaker, and presenter. He's done hundreds of presentations based on the books he's written. Titles include The Ultimate Chicago Cubs Time Machine Book, A Complete History of the Franchise going back to the late 1800s, and Powerful Moments in Sports, the Most Significant Sporting Events in American History, which highlights the sporting events that greatly impacted American history and the sports themselves. Pop culture themed titles include The Greatest Sitcoms of All Time and the book inspiring today's presentation, A Celebration of Animation, the 100 Greatest Cartoon Characters in Television History. This book is available for checkout here at the Aurora Public Library, but we do encourage you to check out Marty's Etsy page and grab a signed copy for yourself. And I'll post that link to his page. It's posted here in the chat, and I can share it with you both before you go. And without further ado, I'll go ahead and hand it off to Marty.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the library for inviting me, and thank you for you folks for coming in today. I appreciate that very much. And I want to thank you for calling me Marty, because too many of my publishers, not this one here for this book, but too many of my publishers put Martin on the cover of my books. And they do that because they make it seem like I'm more sophisticated than I really am. I'm not really sophisticated at all. And so I always appreciate, the only person that ever called me Martin in my life was my mother. And that was only when she was mad at me. So Marty is always the way to go. If we do a Q&A and you happen to utter my name, I would appreciate it if you called me Marty. Now, this is my book. It's called A Celebration of Animation, the 100 Greatest Cartoon Characters in Television History. And that's a little bit of a misnomer. It really is the 100 greatest cartoon characters of all time. I'm not sure why the publisher, wanted to narrow it down to television history, but all the characters here are pretty much cover the entirety of animation history. And I've had people come up to me when they've seen this book and they say, "Oh, Marty, so these are your favorite cartoon characters, huh?" And I'm like, "No, they're not my favorite cartoon characters. They're the greatest of all time based on different criteria that my co-author and I used." I'll be talking about my co-author a little bit later. And, like legacy, how long these characters have remained in the American consciousness or world consciousness, how much impact they made on pop culture, voices, do they have unique voices? How much do they contribute to the shows they happen to be on? A lot of things like that. We use a lot of different criteria to rank the greatest cartoon characters. And there's even a few cartoon characters in this book that I don't really even like, but they deserve to be in. I guess I'm old school, so Beavis and Butthead were one of them. I'm not a big fan of Beavis and Butthead. And maybe it's just because I'm old. I think younger folks, kind of like Beavis and Butthead. But they deserve to be in the book because they certainly made an impact on pop culture, and so they're in the book. So that's just like one example. Now, when I was a kid, Saturday mornings, baby, that was my time. I used to have, I used to like to sleep in on the weekends generally, but on Saturday mornings, I had my big bowl of cereal in front of me at 8 in the morning, and I'd watch 4 hours of cartoons straight. They had 2 hours of Warner Brothers alone, and then they had like an hour of Hanna-Barbera, and they had some Woody Woodpecker, whatever it was, I loved it. And I watched 4 hours of cartoons, and there wasn't really a lot of opportunities. I'm so old that I remember when there was 3 channels. I'm 64 years old now. There were 3 channels on the TV. That was it. ABC, NBC, CBS. So there were limited opportunities to watch cartoons. So that's why I, really look forward to Saturday mornings. So anyway, I was a sports writer for many, many years. And I got out of the newspaper business in 2002 when it really started to tank. And I started writing a lot of books. And by that time, I was watching a lot of cartoons with my daughters. I had 2 daughters in the late 90s and early 2000s. And I started getting really into some of the cartoon characters that were popular on Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network. And it really dawned on me when I started writing books that I love to rank things. I rank the greatest sitcoms of all time. I have a book where I rank the greatest American athletes of all time based on a unique point system I created. And I wrote this book, The Greatest Cartoon Characters of All Time. I just love to rank things. And it's just a lot of fun. And I think, it creates some debate and friendly debate between people about their favorites. Anyway, I want to get the ball rolling here. What I'm going to do first is I want to test your knowledge. I am going to play the voices of 4 different cartoon characters, and you have to guess who these voices are. Now, I'm going to give away the first one. Well, I'm going to give away one of them. Okay, I'm not going to tell you what's the first one. My very favorite cartoon character of Hanna-Barbera was named Magilla Gorilla. Magilla Gorilla, I loved him. He was my favorite Hanna-Barbera character. And one of these 4 voices is Magilla Gorilla. So I'm giving it away. Don't forget that name. Here we go. Here's number 1.
Mr. People, but first I'll have a bit of lunch too.
Who was that?
I don't think we know.
I think you do know. I think you know because I've given it away. That's my hint one.
Oh.
That was Magilla Gorilla. Yes, he sat in Mr. Peebles' pet shop window, and Mr. Peebles had him priced at a penny because he could not give him away.
Oh.
All right, here's number 2. This character was blind as a bat.
Here we are, Arturo Murphy's dance studio.
He was voiced by Jim Backus.
Mr. Magoo?
There you go. You nailed it. Good job. Here's a popular character from the 1970s.
Thanksgiving. Humbug. What good is it if you're on a diet?
He was a fat feline.
Felix the cat?
What's that?
Felix the cat?
No. Felix the cat was kind of skinny.
Oh, Garfield.
Garfield. Very good. All right.
I used to love Garfield.
Here's number 4. This is from a more modern show.
Lois, I'm going to ask you this only once. Do you or do you not know about the bird?
Yeah, that's a new one. I know it.
You can shout it out too. You're involved in this.
I can't. Okay. Do either of you know?
No.
Peter Griffin.
Peter Griffin from Family Guy. Good job. Okay, now I want to get the program started in earnest here. Now, when I ask different people, so who do you think our number one cartoon character is in our book? They either guess Mickey Mouse or Bugs Bunny. And I have to explain to them, when Mickey Mouse came to television with the Mickey Mouse Club in the 1950s, Donald Duck was considered to be a superior character. He was more popular with kids. He had more personality and more depth to his personality. He even had some anger. Walt Disney wanted Mickey Mouse to be the face of his organization. So he did not expand Mickey Mouse's personality from the theatrical shorts period, just kind of kept him the same. So we have Donald Duck ranked ahead of Mickey Mouse in our book. Now, a lot of people believe that there was a cartoon called Steamboat Willie, a Mickey Mouse cartoon, that was the first talkie in 1928. Not true. There was a guy named Paul Terry who created a studio called Terry Toons, and they had some wonderful cartoon characters, Mighty Mouse and Heckle and Jekyll. By the way, Heckle and Jekyll is ranked number 100. They're the last entry in our book. Deputy Dog and so forth. Well, anyway, he created a cartoon in 1928, 3 months before Steamboat Willie, called Dinner Time. And I'm going to show you Dinner Time right now. I happen to like it better than Steamboat Willie. You can't hear the voices very well. They're kind of muted, but it is considered the first talkie. And it's all about a pack of dogs that take over a butcher shop.
There, now.
Got it now?
Yeah.
Okay, that's really odd because the share screen was on. Okay. Let's do this again.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. No problem at all. Let's try this again. And you might want to turn the video, the sound up as much as you can on your end, but we'll see. Let's try this again. Can you see it now?
Yes, Marty, much better. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Spoke too soon.
I know, now it's frozen.
Maybe that's all it was. No, but his image is frozen. too. Just wonderful when it works.
Yeah. Marty, can you hear us?
Storm got to his
Yeah.
connection.
Marty, can you hear us? Uh-oh, I think we lost him. Okay,
You're the host, so I blame you.
I know, right?
Blame Mikhail, it's inferior stuff.
Okay, you're back on, but we can't hear you, Marty. Just go ahead and unmute.
It's muted. It was muted down below. There, to the right.
I'm so sorry for this. You're kind of coming back a little bit, but you're muted still.
At least we got this video.
Marty, can you hear us? All right, go ahead and click. Can you click on mute at the bottom left?
There you go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right. Let's go to the next, whoops. Let's go to the next program.
All right. Sounds
Next
good.
video. Let's see if we're all good now. Now, come on, there we go. I used to show the Steamboat Willie cartoon, but it's copyright issues prevents me to do that. But I'm going to show you a cartoon character that I actually like better than Mickey Mouse, and that's Popeye, who started out as a comic strip character many years ago, and then became an animated character. And the cool thing about Popeye, one of many cool things about the Popeye cartoons, is he had a long running feud with a character named Bluto, who for 2 years in 1957 and 1958 became known as Brutus, but he was mostly known as Bluto. And in this particular cartoon that I happen to like, they are after the as usual, they are after the attention of Olive Oil, their love interest, who is about 6'5" and 20 pounds, the skinniest cartoon character in history. But anyway, in this particular video, they're both window washers, and they tried to get the attention and the business from Olive Oil.
And just make sure to share your screen again.
I have to share the screen again?
Yeah, because you got booted for a while.
Okay, hold on.
Thank you.
Sure. Oh, yeah, you're right. I got booted off. Good now?
Yes, we're good.
What do you mean? Why not today? Thank you.
Because I'm gonna wash them. That's why not today. Thank you.
That guy thinks he's gonna roll my racket. Hey, let me show you the real way to wash a window.
I'll wash them. Oh, I can see. Oh, I can't see. You're out of date with that stuff. Let me show you how we muddy.
Hey, Shrimp, get an eyeful of this. It's a real window.
Hey, you'll have to
Okay, now. Hold on there. Gee whiz. It's not, there we go. Now I'm good. I am going to give you your first trivia question. You guys ready? And I know we have someone on Zoom now. So since we only have a small group, we can you can shout out your answer if you want. If you can unmute, you can shout out your answer. And here's the first. I'm going to give you 3 cartoon characters have a best friend or a sidekick. Yogi Bear, Huckleberry Hound. One does not have a best friend or sidekick.
Can you please repeat the question, Marty? You froze.
Sure. Which one of these 3 characters does not have a best friend or sidekick? Does not have a best friend or sidekick.
Okay.
Huckleberry Hound, Yogi Bear, or SpongeBob SquarePants?
That was fun, thought.
Is it Huckleberry Hound?
That is correct. Huckleberry Hound. Good job. Yogi Bear has Boo Boo, and SpongeBob has Patrick. So there you go. And I'll tell you a little personal story. I was in Philadelphia selling my book at a Comic-Con there, and a guy comes up to me and he has his wallet out and he says, "I want this book." So that was exciting for me because, you know, usually I have to show people a book and convince them to get it. And he says, "I want this book. Where do you have Huckleberry Hound ranked in your top 100? And I said, "I don't. He didn't make our top 100. He was one of our last cuts," which is true. And he took his wallet and he put it back in his pocket and he walked away and he said, "You have lost all credibility with me." And that was it. So it goes to show you how much passion that some people have about their favorite cartoon characters. Now, I want to, you may have figured out by now, we have Bugs Bunny ranked number 1 in our book. And it's funny because when my co-author and I were deciding our top 100, we were like, okay, so Bugs Bunny's number 1, right? And yes, let's move on. It took 3 seconds to decide that Bugs Bunny was number 1. It took a long time to decide 2 through 100. But anyway, one of the great things about Bugs Bunny is that he never provoked the other cartoon characters on the show. He was always the one getting picked on or provoked, and then he would fight back and imagine ways, and that allowed him to play off was Elmer Fudd or Daffy Duck or Yosemite Sam. I love Yosemite Sam. We have him ranked number 27 in the book. Just shows you we weren't playing favorites, but he's my personal favorite. He's so wacky. He's so out there. In this particular snippet, Bugs Bunny is getting the best of Yosemite Sam on Yosemite Sam's ship, which, by the way, is not easy to say.
Blast your scuppers, you barnacle pickle line lover. Come down here and fight like a man.
Okay, Shorty, catch me. I'm gonna jump. Here I come.
Mars varmint? What are you crazy doggone idiot? What you trying to do, blow us to smithereens? No! Blast your hole. You're going after it.
Didn't make it?
I'll blast your head off for this. All right now, I got your corner. Come out and meet your doom.
I have not even begun to fight.
Okay, now. Yeah. When I hear Yosemite Sam say, "I want to blast your head," off for this, I do get a little imagery on cartoons and on television, watching Bugs Bunny and all these cartoons whatsoever about anyone turning that violent imagery into reality. It was never brought up. It was never, my parents never thought about it. I never thought about it. My friends and their parents never thought about it. It just was not considered at all. But I can understand in today's day and age, in the modern era, where some parents are a little leery about having their little kids watch some of these cartoons because the violence is a lot more graphic. Like on Family Guy or South Park or whatever, they show blood. You know, it's real blood. And so it's a lot more graphic. When I was a kid, a cartoon character would fall off a cliff and he'd get up, he'd have a little Band-Aid on his cheek or something, and that was it. Well, in today's day and age, it's a lot different. So I can understand it a little bit more. Another thing I wanted to bring up about that Bugs Bunny cartoon, I've had people tell me, and I didn't even realize it when I used to watch it, but I realize it now, that their first experience with classical music was watching Bugs Bunny cartoons. As you could hear when they were going up and down the steps, there was some really famous Bugs Bunny cartoons that were, had classical music themes, like What's Opera Doc, which happened to won an Academy Award, and like The Rabbit of Seville, which I happen to love, had that. Anyway, so the Warner Brothers cartoons animation studios had a long reach. There was a guy named Tex Avery, and there were other animators or directors or whatever that ended up working at other studios. Tex Avery was one of them. Tex Avery went to MGM, and he created this, helped create this wonderful character here that you'll see. And I really like this particular video because I like the visual exaggeration that you see here in this particular video. It's kind of what I like about cartoons is that visual exaggeration and that fast pace. And you get a lot of fast-paced visual exaggeration in this particular video, which is an MGM directed by Tex Avery.
a squirrel. One of them corny feed pictures, eh? Oh yeah? Listen, you. If you was my size, I'd bust you right in the nose. Oh yeah. He's under the bed.
Why didn't know you was on that right for?
Oh, mother, what a dumb.
Okay. Come on, there we go. Now I want to give you trivia question number 2. You ready for trivia question number 2? Here we
Yeah.
go. The Simpsons have been around for 32 years. Not a whole lot of people watch it anymore. It just kind of has a cult following, but it is still around. And the Simpson kids used to watch a cat and mouse cartoon that was completely based on Tom and Jerry. What was the name of the cat and mouse cartoon that the Simpson kids watched that was based on Tom and Jerry?
I heard watch the Simpsons.
Yeah, we didn't watch The Simpsons. Let's see if anyone puts it on Facebook, because they've been responding. Does anybody on Facebook know? I'm not seeing anything, Marty. I don't think anyone, oh, wait, Itchy and Scratchy?
There you go. It's
That
your
was
Scratchy.
Paul.
Good job.
Well done,
Okay.
Paul.
Good job. Now, I talked about that long reach of Warner Brothers, and here's another example. There was a guy named Ben Hardaway, and his nickname was Bugsy Hardaway because he had helped create Bugs Bunny and, of course, Daffy Duck and all these characters. Well, there was a guy named Walter Lantz who created the Walter Lantz Studio many years later, and he wanted to have a cartoon character that was as wacky and zany as Bugs Bunny. So he hired Ben Bugsy Hardaway to create one, and Bugsy Hardaway created a character named Woody Woodpecker. Now, a little tidbit of information, Woody Woodpecker's voice was actually the wife of Walter Lantz. Walter Lantz's wife was for many years the voice of Woody Woodpecker. But anyway, in this really silly cartoon, Woody Woodpecker is hired as a piano tuner for whatever ridiculous reason. And in his job as a piano tuner, he runs into some bank robbers who literally take him for a ride.
There's the dough. The dough. Dough.
I don't like the killer type. We have come to know the big green gentleman. I just way too much. Get me butter, don't they see me now?
Okay, now let's get to the television era. What you've seen so far, except that last one really was more in the television era, but what you've seen so far has been mostly theatrical shorts cartoons. And those were shown at before movies at the movie theater, or, between double features at the movie theater, before television actually came out. Now, when television came out, the animation suffered quite a bit because everyone had to work a lot faster to create cartoons every day or every week, and they didn't have as much time to put in much depth into the animation. But that doesn't mean there weren't a lot of great cartoon characters and great cartoons in the early days of television. One of them might happen to be my favorite cartoon character in the television history, and that's Bullwinkle. I love Bullwinkle. He was really out there. Great humor. And but anyway, I do not show a Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoon because it was basically an animated, silly soap opera. So there wasn't really one 2-minute snippet that I could find. But I am going to show you a cartoon character from the relatively early days of television, and that's the Flintstones. The Flintstones was based on a 1950s sitcom called The Honeymooners, completely based on The Honeymooners, which only lasted one season, but it was a legendary sitcom. The Ralph Cramden character was Fred, and the Ed Norton character was Barney. And, they went to the pool hall and they went to the bowling alley and they had their wives. It was the same thing. They even took a lot of the same plot lines from the Honeymooners and just turned it into the Flintstones, only, of course, in prehistoric times. But anyway, here's a little snippet that I like. What I want you to focus in on this to look at is how Fred Flintstone picks up his 7-10 split.
Step aside, Pagliacci, whilst the captain warms up. Just keep your eye on the ball, Bonnie boy. How about something to cool you off? The way I'm going, nothing can cool me off. Okay, let me have one with a couple of straws. One frosty one coming up. just great. Now, would you like to try bowling like the rest of us? Big strike coming up. Shows a big win. Close your mouth.
Okay, couple tidbits of information for you. One, the very first cartoon character in television history was named Crusader Rabbit. So there you go. If you're ever at a party and it's getting dull, you could liven things up. Well, you could try to liven things up by telling everyone, hey, did you know that the very first cartoon character in television history was named Crusader Rabbit? And then everyone will go home. But at least they'll go home with some information they did not have before. And here's another little tidbit with the Flintstones. Mel Blanc, the greatest voice actor, hands down, in television history, in cartoon history, with all, Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and all the Warner Brothers characters. Mel Blanc was actually also the voice of Barney Rubble in the Flintstones. So there you go. Now, what I'm going to do is give you trivia question number 3, because it's Flintstones based, and it's the toughest trivia question that I give. So we'll see if you can get it. Toward the end of the run of the Flintstones in the 1960s, Fred and Barney encountered an alien who remained on the show the rest of the time. Only Fred and Barney could see this alien. He was voiced by Harvey Korman of Carol Burnett fame and Blazing Saddles and so forth. Harvey Korman was the voice of this alien. What was the name of the alien on the Flintstones? Little green guy stood up in the air.
I remember Flintstones, but the alien.
So no one here in the room knows it. Let's see if anybody I think I have an idea, but I'm gonna see if somebody on Facebook knows it first. We have a few people tuning in.
It's a tough one.
So Paul says kazoo.
I am going to give you credit for that, because that's awful darn close.
Yeah.
The Great Gazoo.
Kazoo, yeah.
The Great Gazoo is the answer. I want to give you credit for it because that was a tough one.
Right.
Well done. You guys are 3 for 3 on your trivia questions. And I want to give you a fair warning. It's very rare in any of my programs that I do when a group gets all 5 trivia questions right. So you guys are 3 for 3 and you're on your way. Now, there was no greater link between my generation when they, around the time they invented the wheel, and the current generation in cartoons than Scooby-Doo. And the reason for that is they keep making new iterations of Scooby-Doo. There's been like 10 of them, including the current one, which is called Be Cool Scooby-Doo. I am not going to show you a Scooby-Doo cartoon per se. What I am going to show you is the difference between the intro, the original intro in 1969, and the intro today. In today's digital age, the intro, you'll see the images flash on the screen really, really fast because they feel like kids today don't have the attention span that they used to have. Plus, they want to get another commercial in. So the intro is only 17 seconds long. So what I want you to do is I want you to vote on which one you like better. Do you like the original intro or the modern intro? Here is the original. Remember, you're going to vote on which one you like better. Okay, now I'm going to show you the modern version. Okay, where are the lyrics, guys? The lyrics are gone. Okay, I want you to vote. Which one do you like better, for the original or the modern?
I like the original.
Yeah. What do you think? Yeah, we think original for sure.
Okay, good. That means you can stay on my program. Otherwise, I might have to kick you off. Good job. Okay. And I'll tell you a little personal story. When I was a sports writer here in Cleveland, I knew another sports writer who looked just like Scooby-Doo. He looked, especially when Scooby-Doo laughed. He looked just like him. When Scooby-Doo laughed, he looked just like him. So I kept this to myself for a long time. But in one grand moment of stupidity, I blurted it out. I said, hey, you know, you look like Scooby-Doo. Well, his face turned all red and he just didn't say anything, and he turned away and walked away from me. Maybe other people had told him that. I don't know. I was like kicking myself for this. And for a month, he did not talk to me. I covered a Cleveland Browns game. I'm sitting next to the guy. He didn't talk to me the whole time we were there. It's all right now. We're Facebook friends, and I actually quoted him in a book that I wrote. But just to, give you fair warning, if you know of anybody that looks like a cartoon character, don't tell them. It's never a compliment. So there you go. Now, I'm going to give a shout out to my co-author. His name is Joe Wose. Joe Wose, I got so lucky to get him as my co-author because he's one of the foremost experts on cartoon characters in the country. He's the resident cartoonist for the Charles Schulz Museum in Santa Rosa, California. And we had to decide when we were putting together our top 100 whether we were going to include the Peanuts characters in the book, because they were comic strip characters originally. Well, they became so famous as cartoon characters with all the holiday specials and everything that we decided to include them in the book. And we actually have Snoopy ranked number 6 in our greatest cartoon characters of all time, which is amazing because Snoopy doesn't talk and he's not really, expressive with his facial expressions or anything. He's just he just beloved. Everybody loves Snoopy. About 10 years ago, there was a survey taken, and it was determined, I don't know how scientific it was, but it was determined that more people knew who Snoopy was than knew who Barack Obama was around the world. And, it just goes to show you how popular Snoopy is, that more people could recognize him than Barack Obama when Barack Obama was president of the United States. But anyway, in this particular video, which was the 1980s, Snoopy wants Linus's blanket really bad, and he goes to great trickery to try to get it. Whoops.
Make one move toward this blanket, you stupid beagle, and I'll pull down your window shades. You're not fooling anybody, beagle. One more step, beagle, and I'll punch your lights out. Hey!
Okay. Now, see, sometimes it just doesn't go into the next video, so I'll have to see if I can get it there. There we go. Okay, here is trivia question number 4. Name any one of the 3 Powerpuff Girls? Any one of them.
Cartoon.
That's way after our time.
A little more modern of a question.
Yeah, I
Unless
don't know.
somebody on the net gets it.
Yeah, let's see. It doesn't look like anybody knows. I'm gonna guess butterscotch?
Okay, you got it. Buttercup. That's right.
Buttercup, that's
Buttercup.
right.
Yeah. Okay, Bubbles, Blossom, and Buttercup. You got it. Okay. So you guys are 4 for 4. You have only one question to get. Okay, so I'm going to give you another shout out, and that is to Tom Kenny. Now, Tom Kenny is the voice of SpongeBob SquarePants, and he's been the voice since the start, since 1990, since 2000 rather, 21 years of SpongeBob. And we got lucky again. He agreed to write the foreword to our book. And so Tom Kenny called me at home on the phone, and I was, I figured he's a Hollywood guy, I figured he'd want to just get a little information about the book and get off the phone. He talked to me for an hour. It was wonderful. He was so down to earth. He talked about his rock band that he has in California. He talked about sports. We talked about the old cartoon character that he loves, cartoon characters that inspired him. And he told me when he actually got on the phone with my daughter for 15 minutes and gave her advice on how to get into animation. I mean, it was just amazing. But anyway, when he said that when he voices SpongeBob SquarePants, he tries to be as naive and childlike as possible. And it really, really comes off. That's why SpongeBob is probably the most popular and beloved character of this generation, of the last generation, at least anyway. And in this particular cartoon, which is from the SpongeBob movie, SpongeBob is usually a happy character, but he's a little bit morose because he did not get his promotion at the Krusty Krab 2. But what I want you to focus on here is that the writers in this particular video were drawing a parallel between the way kids react when they eat too much ice cream and the way adults react when they drink too much alcohol. Because basically what happens here is that SpongeBob and Patrick get drunk on ice cream.
Hey, all you cougars, it's time to say howdy to your favorite undersea peanut, Goofy Goober. Hey, fellow Goofy Goobers, time to say, oh, I'm a Goofy Goober, yeah. You're a Goofy Goober, yeah. We're all Goofy Goobers, yeah. Alright, get it together, old boy. I know, I'll just stop thinking about it. And I actually feel a little better. I don't even remember why I was sad. Hey, it's the new Krusty Krab 2 manager.
Wow, the pressure's already setting in.
No, Pat, you don't understand. I didn't get the promotion.
What? Why?
Mr. Krabs thinks I'm a kid.
What? That's insane.
I know.
Well, saying you're a kid is like saying I'm a kid.
Here's your goober meal, sir.
I'm supposed to get a toy with this? Thanks.
I'm gonna head home, Pat. The celebration's off.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm not in a goober mood.
Okay. See ya.
And here's your triple gooberberry sunrise, sir.
Yum.
Oh, triple gooberberry sunrise, huh? Well, I guess I could use one of those.
Now you're talking. Hey, waiter. We need another one over here.
There you go.
Boy, Pat, that hit the spot. better already. Let's get another round over here. Oh, Mr. Waiter, 2 more, please. Whoa! Waiter!
Why do I always get them nuts?
Alright, folks. This one goes out to my 2 bestest friends in the whole world. Patrick and his big peanut guy. It's a little thing called...
Okay, here is your last trivia question. Let's see if you can make it a clean sweep. Jim Backus was the voice of Mr. Magoo. He also played a role in the very silly 1960s sitcom called Gilligan's Island. What role did Jim Backus play in Gilligan's Island?
He was the millionaire. Yeah, he played the millionaire and the wife in the song, but I can't remember their name.
I hear someone say the millionaire.
Yeah, it's a millionaire.
Does anyone remember his name?
It's like we're thinking.
Who was the millionaire in Gilligan's Island? You're halfway there.
I never watched that show.
You might be better off.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like Facebook knows yet either.
Well, I'll give it to you. You got it. It was Thurston Howell III.
Thurston Howell.
Oh.
Thurston Howell III and his wife Lovey. There you go. Okay. Important stuff there. Now, in the modern day of cartoons, the writers have gotten a little bit more, how should I put this, socially conscious. They are writing a lot more about issues that kids might have with their parents or their friends or teachers. There was a cartoon character named Timmy from a little bit away, maybe 20 years ago or so, on the Fairly Odd Parents, and he had problems with his babysitter. They write about how parents are having problems with their kids, whatever it might be. Social issues in general are being, examined a little bit more in these cartoons. There's a great cartoon character in a modern cartoon named Tina Belcher. And she's in a show called Bob's Burgers, and she's 13 years old. And, she has a few social issues. She actually sounds like a boy. She has in fact, is a male voice actor, and she's not a real attractive young lady. And so anyway, there are some social issues there. The reason I picked out this video, though, has nothing to do with social issues. I just picked it out because it's funny. Her father lets her go driving in a parking lot, even though she's only 13 years old, and you'll see what happens from there.
Wow, I still can't believe this sale. 6,000 low-fold dispenser napkins for $58. What are they thinking? I don't know. Yeah, and they're 2-ply. This is a great day. A really great day. Wow, look how big and empty the parking lot is, huh? What do you say you get behind the wheel? What would I do behind the wheel? Drive. Is that legal? Well, no, but my father let me drive when I was about your age. Call it a perk for running errands with your dad. Let's make this kitty purr. Well, go ahead, try a turn. Tina, why are you groaning? You're doing fine. Tina, relax. Easy, easy. Okay. Tina, you're kind of headed toward the only other car in the lot. You have plenty of time to turn, Tina, so just go ahead. Turn one way or the other. You're just swerving back and forth. Turn one way and stick with it, Tina. Tina, for the love of God! Turn away or stop! The brakes, Tina, on the left! You're about to hit that car! The brakes! Hit the brakes! Oh my God. God, it's bad. I ruined the car. You did. You really did. Okay. Well, at least there doesn't seem to be any damage to the other car. No, I see a dent. There's a dent. That's a ding. Not even. It's like a little scratch. No, it's a dent. All right. We'll leave a note. You know, then again, for all we know, that probably was there, right? We have to leave a note. We have to leave a note. Okay. You're so honest. Who raised you? I don't know. It was me. I did.
You're so honest. Who raised you? I love that line. That's such a great line. Now, those are all the cartoons I'm going to show, but I want to turn the program over to you wonderful people, and you can ask me any questions that you might have in Facebook or whatever, chat or live or whatever it might be. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask.
Questions?
Any questions for either of you?
What's his 100th favorite cartoon character?
We have a question. What is your 100th favorite cartoon character?
Well, in the book, we have Heckle and Jekyll from
Oh.
Terry Toons. I showed a Terry Toon cartoon, the first one. Heckle and Jekyll was ranked number 100.
Okay.
I have a trivia question for Marty.
Uh-oh.
You remember the name of the ship on Gilligan's Island?
The SS Minnow.
Do you know what it was named for?
No, I just thought it was called the SS Minnow.
It was named for Newton Minnow because he had come out with that comment about television being a vast wasteland. And they
Oh, no
had a
kidding.
studio, and they named the ship that the skipper had the Minnow to kind of pimp back at Newton Minnow at the FCC.
I did not know that. That is a great story. And in fact, I do a program about the greatest sitcoms of all time. I wrote that book about the greatest sitcoms, and I might have to throw that in there. That's interesting.
That is
I didn't know that. I know about when Gilligan's Island came out, it was absolutely lambasted by the critics. I mean, they thought it was the stupidest show in history, and they just murdered it. Well, here it is, 50 years later, more than 50 years later, and it's one of the most popular sitcoms of all time in syndication. So
Yeah.
there you go. But you never know what the people are going to want to watch. But anyway, real quick, and if you have any other questions, I'll be glad to answer them. But the link to a celebration of animation, the 100 greatest cartoon characters of all time or in television history, is being shown there. I know that she put up the link, Krista did. And if you have any questions about the book, please let me know. It's almost 100 years of cartoon characters in here. And it's really, really fun. There's colorful images of these cartoon characters, and there's evil characters and funny characters and superheroes. It just really runs the gamut, and the book's a blast. And if you're interested in it, I autograph the book for free. I personalize the book for free, and I ship it for free. And I can personalize it for anyone you want to give as a gift. And the same goes for this one here. You see, the Ultimate Chicago Cubs Time Machine book. It's all about the greatest and most interesting teams and players and events and moments in franchise history, going way back to the 1800s. The book's really fun too. And I, autograph, personalize, and ship that for free. And all you got to do to get that is you go to Etsy.com and you go to Gitlin Books, Gitlin Books, all one word, on Etsy. And you can look at my books, and you can pick out the Chicago Cubs Time Machine book and get it for any Cubs fan in your life. I think they'll really like it.
That's
For the
great.
holidays or for birthdays or whatever.
Wonderful. That's a great gift idea.
Yeah, any Cubs fan is going to like this. And there's a lot of photos of these great Cubs players and events and all these kind of things. So I think, yeah, you'd like that. And I know you can also see my celebration of animation on Gitlin Books off of Etsy, Etsy.com, Gitlin Books. And you can see the celebration of animation there if you want to take a look at it and see if you'd like it.
Wonderful.
Anybody else have anything for me?
Any other questions for our audience?
I have a question for you if you'll put your sports writer hat on.
Yes.
How are the citizens of Cleveland accepting that name change from the Indians to the Guardians?
Boy, it's a real mix. I'll tell you what. A lot of people were upset that they got rid of Chief Wahoo. But I think, but a lot of people, most people understood why they got rid of Chief Wahoo. But I think that there's more people that are upset at the name change that didn't think that was necessary. I am mixed on Guardians. I root for the Cleveland on the uniform, not the nickname, but I'm mixed on Guardians. I don't know. I usually have real strong opinions on everything, but on this one, I'm just kind of, blah about the Guardians. I would have liked maybe another name, but I didn't really see a huge problem with being called the Cleveland Indians, but I can sort of understand why the franchise wanted to move on from it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure, my pleasure. One last thing, I want to leave you with one last thing.
Okay.
The greatest names in cartoon history are the villains. There's such great names. There was a cartoon called Roger Ramjet back in the 1960s, and the villain on Roger Ramjet was named Noodles Romanoff. And I think that's the greatest villain name in history. I want to leave you with that. It's even better than Snidely Whiplash, which is the second best one. I think Snidely Whiplash, but Noodles Romanoff takes the cake. So I want to leave you with that little bit there. And I want to thank the library again and everyone for coming in and watching the program.
Thank you so much, Marty. It's been great to have you.
Thank you. I'm so sorry about the technical difficulties we had. I'm glad it's got straightened out.
Yeah, that's all right. It happens all the time. So I think we're all kind of used to those right now. So it was a great program. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. You guys have a great day now.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Bye-bye.